Human history is a tapestry woven with both progress and setbacks. We've achieved incredible things, from scientific breakthroughs to artistic masterpieces. Yet we're also plagued by deeply rooted societal flaws that threaten our progress and well-being. These flaws, often interconnected and mutually reinforcing, manifest in various forms, from corruption and prejudice to violence, greed, and apathy. These issues aren't confined to a particular region, culture, or time period. They're universal challenges, deeply embedded in the human experience. Understanding these flaws, their impact on individuals and communities, and potential solutions is crucial for building a more just, equitable, and sustainable future. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of these problems. However, recognizing their existence and understanding their complexities is the first step towards addressing them. We must engage in open and honest conversations, challenge harmful norms, and demand better from our leaders and institutions. Remember, societal change begins with individual action. Corruption, the abuse of entrusted power for private gain, acts like a cancer, eating away at the fabric of society. It can manifest in countless ways, from bribery and extortion to nepotism and cronyism. In politics, corruption undermines democracy, erodes public trust, and siphons resources away from essential services. Imagine a government official accepting bribes to award contracts, leaving schools and hospitals underfunded. In the business world, corruption distorts markets, stifles innovation, and undermines fair competition. Think of a company securing a lucrative deal by bribing officials, shutting out honest businesses. The consequences of corruption are far-reaching. It increases inequality, fuels poverty, and undermines the rule of law. It creates a breeding ground for organized crime, terrorism, and other forms of instability. Combating corruption requires a multi-pronged approach, including strengthening institutions, promoting transparency and accountability, empowering civil society, and fostering a culture of integrity. Prejudice and discrimination fueled by ignorance and fear plague societies worldwide. These forces target individuals based on race, ethnicity, gender, religion, and more. Racial and ethnic discrimination persists in both subtle and overt forms. From racial profiling to systemic inequalities, racism casts a long shadow. Gender inequality limits the potential of half the world's population. Women and girls face discrimination in education, employment, and politics. To combat prejudice, we must promote diversity, educate, and challenge stereotypes. Violence in its many forms inflicts immeasurable suffering and undermines social cohesion. From domestic abuse and gang violence to armed conflict and terrorism, the human toll of violence is staggering. Domestic violence, often hidden behind closed doors, affects millions of people, primarily women and children. It's a complex issue rooted in power imbalances, cultural norms, and societal factors. Breaking the cycle of domestic violence requires addressing its root causes, providing support for survivors, and promoting healthy relationships. Crime and gang violence often plague marginalized communities, fueled by poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity. Addressing these underlying issues, coupled with community-based interventions, law enforcement strategies, and social programs, is crucial for creating safer communities. Armed conflict and terrorism tear apart societies, displace populations, and leave lasting scars on individuals and communities. Preventing and resolving conflicts requires diplomacy, conflict resolution mechanisms, addressing the root causes of violence, and promoting peace-building efforts. Section 5. Greed, the insatiable hunger. Greed, the insatiable desire for more, drives many of the world's problems. From rampant consumerism to corporate malfeasance, the pursuit of profit and material wealth often comes at the expense of people and the planet. Consumerism, fueled by advertising and a culture of instant gratification, leads to overconsumption, waste, and environmental degradation. The relentless pursuit of the latest gadgets, fashion trends, and material possessions has created a throwaway culture that depletes resources and pollutes the planet. Corporate malfeasance, driven by greed and a lack of accountability, harms consumers, employees, and the environment. From financial fraud and environmental pollution to unsafe working conditions and exploitative labor practices, corporations often prioritize profits over people and the planet. To combat greed, we must shift away from a culture of consumerism and embrace sustainable consumption patterns. We need to hold corporations accountable for their actions, promote ethical business practices, and prioritize the well-being of people and the planet over profits. Section 6. The chains of addiction. Addiction, whether to substances or behaviors, can trap individuals in a vicious cycle of dependency, harming their health, relationships, and overall well-being. Substance abuse, including alcohol, drugs, and tobacco, takes a devastating toll on individuals, families, and communities. It contributes to a wide range of health problems, fuels crime and violence, and perpetuates cycles of poverty. Behavioral addictions, such as gambling, gaming, and technology addiction, can be just as destructive as substance abuse. These addictions can lead to financial ruin, relationship breakdown, and mental health issues. Addressing addiction requires a compassionate and comprehensive approach that includes prevention, treatment, and support. We need to address the root causes of addiction, such as trauma, mental health issues, and social isolation. Section 7. Political polarization, a house divided. Political polarization, the widening gap between different political ideologies, poses a significant threat to democratic societies. When people retreat into echo chambers, demonize those with opposing views, and prioritize party loyalty over the common good, it becomes increasingly difficult to find common ground and address pressing issues. This polarization is fueled by a number of factors, including the rise of social media, the 24/7 news cycle, and the increasing use of divisive rhetoric by politicians and media outlets. The consequences of this polarization are far-reaching, leading to governmental gridlock, political instability, and a decline in civil discourse. To bridge this divide, we need to encourage respectful dialogue, promote media literacy, and support initiatives that foster understanding and cooperation across political differences. We must also hold our elected officials accountable for their rhetoric and actions, demanding that they prioritize the needs of their constituents over partisan interests. Section 8. Environmental degradation, a looming crisis. Our planet is facing an unprecedented environmental crisis driven by human activity. Climate change, pollution, deforestation, and biodiversity loss threaten the delicate balance of our ecosystems and the future of life on Earth. Despite overwhelming scientific consensus, climate change denial persists, fueled by misinformation and vested interests. This denial hinders our ability to take meaningful action, putting our planet and future generations at risk. Addressing environmental degradation requires a collective effort to transition to a more sustainable future. This includes investing in renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, promoting sustainable consumption and production patterns, and protecting our natural resources. We must also hold our leaders accountable for enacting policies that address this crisis and demand action from corporations that prioritize profit over the health of our planet. Section 9. Misinformation, the virus of lies. In the digital age, information spreads at an unprecedented speed. While this can be a powerful tool for good, it also creates fertile ground for the spread of misinformation, false or inaccurate information, especially that which is deliberately intended to deceive. From fake news articles and doctored images to conspiracy theories and propaganda, misinformation can have a significant impact on our perceptions, beliefs, and decision-making. It erodes trust in institutions, fuels social divisions, and undermines informed debate. Combating misinformation requires a multi-pronged approach. We need to promote media literacy, teaching people how to critically evaluate information and identify falsehoods. We must also hold social media platforms accountable for the spread of misinformation on their platforms and support independent fact-checking organizations. Apathy, the silent killer. Apathy, the lack of interest or concern, can be just as damaging as overt societal harm. Indifference to suffering, erosion of norms, or environmental destruction breeds injustice. Political apathy weakens democracies and allows corruption to flourish. Social indifference lets poverty and injustice persist. Overcoming apathy requires recognizing our agency and collective power. Even small acts of kindness can make a difference. Shake off apathy and shape a better future.